Every now and then I drive a vehicle that I like way more than I thought I would, and it's not that I thought I wouldn't like this all-electric Porsche Macan, but it's hitting me in all the right ways. This one I'm driving is the rear-wheel drive version, the base Macan Electric that is new for 2025. Yes, a rear-wheel drive Macan, the first time in this model's history, whether you're talking about the gas version or the electric one, that there has been a rear-wheel drive only version. Of course, it is sacrificing traction in the name of range, but I am here for it. I've said it a million times, whether you're talking about gas-powered vehicles or electric ones, all-wheel drive isn't explicitly necessary. Yes, even in Canada, it does not replace the need for proper winter tires. I understand the apprehension about opting for rear-wheel drive, but don't forget, the very makeup of an EV makes it at least a little more appropriate to opt for rear-wheel drive. All that weight way down low in the vehicle, it's going to aid in traction naturally, and then when you have the right tires along for the ride, well, the recipe is pretty much perfect. Now, this one has the same 100 kilowatt hour battery pack as every other version of the Macan Electric. Max charging speeds 270 kilowatts, a little over 20 minutes to make that kind of benchmark 10 to 80% charge. That's not too bad. Don't forget that is in ideal conditions, so you're not going to find it every time you hook up to a DC fast charger, but it is there. It is possible. The other thing I want to talk about, well, this is a single motor version. There's only one motor in the back driving those rear wheels. Output not as much as the Macan 4, the Macan 4S, or the Macan Turbo Electric, but there is still plenty of it. Now, it makes 355 horsepower and 415 pound-feet of torque, but that is with launch control enabled. I think kind of peak output without it is about 335 horsepower. That is still plenty, and more importantly, this thing is about 250 pounds lighter than the Macan 4, and you can feel it. It does feel surprisingly nimble and agile for a heavy electric vehicle. Now, like I talked about, this thing sacrifices traction in the name of range. There are no official North American numbers yet in terms of this one I'm driving. The Euro spec estimate is 641 kilometers, but that is a very generous estimate. It always is. In North America, we do tend to be a little more conservative, although I find those numbers are a little more accurate. And for a bit of context, the Macan 4, so the all-wheel drive, the next step up version from this one I'm driving, has a range of about 496 kilometers. But on the plus side, that means that this thing should be good for more than 500 kilometers, which in my estimation is more than enough. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. That's the number that is often cited in surveys of whether people are open to EV adoption. 500 kilometers is sort of the new benchmark, the new minimum that people are looking for. So this thing should hit that number no problem. But you know, I've got to say, more than range, more than output, this thing is just smooth, quiet, comfortable, and yes, even sporty. Like I said, it feels very agile. And the thing I'm most impressed with is just how nice the drive is. It doesn't necessarily feel like this sort of range-enhanced EV. It doesn't feel like a hypermiler special. It feels like you can have a little bit of fun behind the wheel on these winding roads out here in the German countryside. It is a very willing companion. It feels nice and planted, not as heavy as you might expect either. Definitely not as heavy as I was expecting, and that I very much like. Now, of course, this isn't the quickest version of the Macan Electric, but that's because it only has one electric motor doing the job. And even still, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in a Porsche estimated 5.7 seconds. Not only is that plenty quick, but it feels even quicker because it is electric. Don't forget that torque comes on instantaneously, and that means when you get your foot into it, it really wants to take off. Now, the last thing we should talk about is pricing. This thing starts at $94,900 in Canada, which means it is still very expensive. That's a little less than $5,000 cheaper than the Macan 4, but it's a lot of money. And don't forget, that is before any options and extras. That to me is maybe the lone disappointment here, is just how expensive it is. But there does feel like a lot of vehicle for the money. It feels very premium, very poised. The build quality is absolutely excellent. Not a creak, squeak, or rattle to be found when we're cruising around here. So you do feel where the money's going, but I would like to see that price come down just a little bit more, especially because this is the base version. It ain't getting any cheaper unless Porsche sticks a smaller battery pack in here. But beyond that, like I said, this thing has been a very pleasant surprise. It might just be my new favorite premium EV.